Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Now we are going to discuss the question answers based on the third topic of Unit 4. The first one they have asked, define the term minority. So here we have to give the meaning to this term. We can say that minorities are the group of people which have a smaller population size and are differentiated on the basis of identifiable features like race, the language and religion. So in this way we can define minority. The next question based on topic third, they have asked, state the constitutional provision for the minorities under Article 350B of the Indian Constitution. So here we have to mention that what are the constitutional provision has been provided for the protection of the minorities in our country. So here we can say that provision given for the protection of these minorities is related to a provision for a special officer for linguistic minorities to investigate all the matters relating to their safeguard provided in linguistic minorities. So here the officer has been appointed for looking into the matters related to these minorities, and that has been already mentioned in our constitution. The next one they have asked, state any two constitutional provisions for the religious minority. So here we can mention about Article 15(1), according to which there should not be any sort of discrimination on the basis of their religion, caste, race, etc. And according to Article 16(2), we have to mention here, there should be equality of opportunity in matters of public employment, and no citizen on the ground of their caste, religion, etc. can be ineligible for getting any employment or office under the state. So these are the two provisions that we can mention here. After giving the heading, we have to elaborate it. Clear? The next one, we have asked what is meant by the term minorities. Although we have already discussed in the very short question answer, so the same you have to write down here, that it is a term which is difficult to define with any degree of precision. It may refer to a relatively small group of people either dominated by a predominant majority. And beside that you can mention these are the group of people, those who have smaller population size and are differentiated on the basis of their features like race, caste, language, religion, etc. Now, based on the essay type questions of topic 3, they have asked, explain the problems and the constitutional provisions for the religious minority. So here we have to mention what are the different provisions that has been mentioned in our constitution. So firstly we are going to discuss about the problem as well as we have to give the different provisions for their protection also. So the biggest problem related to these minorities, if we talk about, that can be related to discrimination on the basis of different factors like their race, caste, religion, the language they are speaking and the place of their birth. And why this is so? Because they don't have the numbers or the population size to protect their interests. Means their population size is very less. And most of the serious problems that are related to these minorities, we can mention the first one is protection of their identity as the religious or the linguistic group. The second problem we can mention, discrimination by the majority in social, economic and the political affairs. And we can also mention that the problems, why the problems are arising related to these minorities, that is because of their numbers. In a democratic society like India, the majority can safeguard its interest because of its number. But somewhere these minorities are lacking in that, and that's why the special provision for their protection is required. So now we are going to mention about that according to our constitution, what are the different guarantees or the provisions has been provided to them in our Indian constitution. Here we have to give the details according to the article. For example, we can mention according to Article 29 Part 1, they have right to preserve their own language and the culture. And then according means in detail you have to explain that. Beside that you can mention according to Article 30 Part 1, they have right to establish and administer their educational institutions. Then according to Article 350A, the state also provide them facilities for 7 instructions in their mother tongue to the children of linguistic minorities at the primary stage of education. Then you will mention about Article 350B, which provide a special officer for linguistic minorities to investigate all the matters relating to their safeguard. Then Article 15.1 you can mention here that no discrimination should be there based on their religion, race, caste or place of birth. Then Article 16.1, the Article 16.2 can be taken here. There should be equality of opportunity in matters of public employment and no discrimination could be done on any of the ground. Then according to Article 25 that is given in our constitution, you have to explain that they have the freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propagation of their own religion. So all these are the provisions. So firstly we have discussed about the problem which are related with these religious minorities, and then we can mention about the provisions given to them for their protection. Now the questions we are going to discuss: higher order thinking skills and problem solving assessment, that is PSA, related to topic 3 of unit 4. The first one they have asked, identify top 10 problems of Naga society and suggest the remedies for the eradication of the problem listed. Firstly, we have to put the problems here. We have to mention what the problems faced by the Naga society, the people of the Naga society, and what are the different steps or the measures can be taken just to remove, eradication means to remove these problems. So we can mention that according to this, you have to give the intro also as well as the conclusion. So you can mention the first one. There is no serious attempt to develop the Naga language and literature. Secondly, excessive policy of violence used by the Naga insurgents have played tremendous havoc in Naga society, having deep and wide negative impact on all Nagas. Then Bangladeshi influx is another serious issue of concern. Then the entrance of or the illegal entry by these Bangladeshis is also creating the problems for these Naga people. Wine, liquor and drugs abuse is the another major problem that could be found in Nagaland. Unemployment is also one of the serious problems. Besides that, the poor road condition, political corruption which is prevailing there, land alienation and economic backwardness. All these things are few problems related to Naga society. Now, what are the suggestions or the remedies could be taken to improve their condition? So, it is on our part as the people of that society. What is on our part? That we ought to have self-analysis, serious introspection and self-criticism. Then only we are able to bring the improvement in our society. Because until and unless we are not able to recognize our weakness, it is not possible to improve that. As an individual, if some flaws are there inside you and some problems are there inside you, until and unless you are not able to recognize that and you are not putting the efforts from your own side, nobody else, the outsiders cannot bring the change in your personality same way. Here, if you are the part of the Naga society, what is on your part? That you have to take the stand. You have to be ready for the self-criticism and the self-inspection. And then you have to find out that what these problems and what is the reason for these problems. and then you need to take the appropriate steps to curb the situation there, to improve the situation. So in nutshell, if we talk about the Nagas must change their own mindset so that they could regain the past glory of freedom, loving people with the changed circumstances of the world today. So in this way, the responsibility comes on the Naga people only, who are there to bring the change in their own society. So hopefully this is clear. The problem you have to mention first, and then based on your own thinking you have to suggest the measures to improve the condition. The next one they have asked, India is a secular country. How secure are religious minorities in India? And the third part of that they have asked, what can be suggested to the central government for safeguarding religious minorities in India? So in this question number 2, you can see the three different parts they have asked. The first one, the two different parts they have asked. The first, they have given the statement that India is a secular country. If we talk about India as a secular country, it means you all must be knowing that India does not have any specific religion. It gives respect to all the religion. So, according to that, if India is being taken as a secular country, how much security is provided to these religious minorities? And what can be suggested? What are your suggestion could be? What could be your suggestion to the central government for their safeguarding in India? So here when they are asking how secure the religious minorities are there in India, so for that we have to mention the Constitution has made the various provisions for their protection of the interest, and it has guaranteed the various minority rights also. So we have to mention about the Article 29 Part 1, which provides the right to the minorities to preserve their own language and the culture. And according to Article 30 Part 1 also you are going to mention, it guaranteed the right to the minorities to establish and administer their own educational institution. And it also prohibits the states to make any sort of discrimination among the minority group on the basis of linguistic or the religious practice. But we know that still beside these provisions given in our constitution, the problems are occurring. We have seen that how different attacks could be heard based on these discrimination on these minorities, religious minorities. So until and unless if we are not bringing that security for them and not able to provide them the appropriate area to live over there, so some sort of fear will always remain in them. Like you might have seen the different minority groups are living in our country, and anyhow we have seen that sometimes the different attacks, news related to that or these kind of events occurred. So it is on the part of the central government that they need to bring some changes, they need to do the amendments just to provide them the safety, so that freely as a part of their nation they could also survive. So these are the few questions that we have discussed based on the topic 3.